Hey Zach.
Hey man, I'm not seeing that you're live on there yet. It's kind of weird.
Click the channel. Tell me if you see like two streams, because I was kind of noticing that too, but I'm not sure. Let me see if I can get to the original one.
Oh shit. Okay, there's a different one.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Could you copy that or just let everyone know in the chat I'm trying to see if there's a link to it or something. But I mean, you jump to the other one first and tell me if you can hear me. And then, because I said my end.
Yeah, the other one you're definitely live. It's just it's not at that link.
Yeah. I think it's because I had to use a separate streaming software to go live. That might be it, because my computer wasn't strong enough to stream on its own. So I had to stream separately, but I thought it would sync, but it's not. But I tested it and it works. Can we just copy paste that link over to everyone who's in the chat and they'll just go to the other one?
Sure, I'm gonna make the announcement.
Okay. And I'm gonna post in some of my other groups as well.
For part of this, I'll be driving. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And then I just dropped it as a message in the other one where they're waiting for you.
Okay. Let me try the link and see how that works. Yeah. How do I? Where are you driving to? You still there, Zach? I can't hear you. It sounds like you're muted.
Oh, I muted myself for a second. Hang on a second. Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Where are you headed?
Oh, I'm just driving home.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, back to the house.
Let's see.
Yeah, so I can't see anything. I won't be showing as a viewer, and I'm driving.
Okay, gotcha. So I will try to stay on top of the chat. I'm trying to see if you could why won't let me type in the chat? I know what I'll do. I got one watching right now, so I just got to post this link over here.
just posted an Outlaw talk and as an announcement, so we should get some people on here soon. I'm not expecting it to start for another 3 minutes.
Okay. I'm trying to invite in a couple to because people can just see me invited on Discord. In the meantime.
Yeah, I didn't end up doing a big tweet promotion thing about it because I was like, oh, it's only for holders.
Right.
So it didn't make sense to post about it on there.
Right. I'm live too, so just so you know. So
No
since
problem.
yeah, everything we're talking about, just in case someone pops in. But yeah, I think that's fine. And maybe in the future we can maybe split it up
Can you hear my voice too? Am I on speakerphone?
Yeah, you are on speakerphone. Yeah.
Yes, am I on speakerphone or no?
You are.
Oh, okay. Hey, what's up, guys? Is anybody in there yet? You're gonna let me know.
I got 3 people watching. Yeah, I have people in here right now. So I need to click it because I'm using Restream so I can see the chat. I'm watching. Yeah, I have people in here right now. So let's make that echo. I need to click. Yeah, we got people. Awesome. We have some people here, and we're going to make you. Yeah, so we got Truck and Full in here. We got Jason, Brandmeyer, Emil's here. So we definitely have a couple people
hey, we got
coming
the
in.
A-team. We got the best poker players. So we know that the buy-ins are going to have a good chance at getting a return for everyone.
Right. OG Crypto Daniel was first. So I'm going to be writing the names down just so y'all can see how it's going to work. You're basically going to get like a entry on this wheel of names random pickers. So you know that I'm not going to rug y'all. At the very end, I'm just going to put in everyone's name. So if I put in Truck and Full, for example, because he is right there, he gets a portion of the spin. And then check it out again. It was OG Crypto Daniel. So OG Crypto Daniel was second. So he would get 50%. And you can see it's kind of dividing up the spinner. And at the very end, we'll just spin it out. We have a $55 ticket being given out by our Crypto Outlaw King Zach, and
up to $55, but yeah,
up to 55.
They might find a tournament that's $55 because that's kind of the limit.
Right, because there are some better value tournaments that might be under 55. And we're gonna get to the definitely. And so we're gonna get to the platforms we're covering in a second. And I'm also gonna be giving out one $15 entry to holders, and then a $15 entry to any non-holders who might be participating as well. But say Truck and Full is like really killing it as he always does in terms of participation, then I might add his name again here so he would get a second entry to increase his likelihood of being chosen for that ticket. So don't dip out once you're on the spinner because you can gain extra entries for your participation. So I'm gonna go ahead and start looking at these names that we had. I got Max Q, Emil, Jason, all these people who are first in. I'm gonna make sure we get some entries here. Jason B, Emil, and sorry, Trekken, I have to delete your second entry because you didn't earn that. That was just an example. So that we're back to one entry there. I really don't want to butcher this name. For me, if it is butchered, a Yagbe, perhaps. A Yagbe. Oh, Pips, my man Pips. What's up, Pips? How did I do with the pronunciation, Pips?
Put Pips on the wheel.
Yeah, you got to put Pips. You know what? If anyone deserves just an auto 2 entries, I'm going to put Pips twice. So Pips does so much for the community. I think no one will be upset with Pips being on this wheel twice to start. And he can have a little bit of a head start. And we still have 3 prizes, y'all. So it's going to go well. If anyone else doesn't post like in the next minute, that's going to be too bad for them. This is going to be the first come, first serve for being, just loyal to Crypto Outlaws and being here. So I'm going to try to get a couple more people in some of the channels I'm in. So I am a mod at Crypto Hold'em. I'll invite them. Pretty much anyone who'd be into that project would love Crypto Outlaws. Raffling off some free stakes. I probably should put this in the shill channel, actually. Where's the shill channel? Suggestions, shills. It used to be here. Well, maybe I won't. Unfortunately, my Crypto Outlaw or my Crypto Hold'em crew might miss out, but I have a little study group. Best probably poker study group in NFTs. This link works better. Come comment now if you want to be entered. I don't want to take up much of anyone's time, and I don't want to take away from the Crypto Outlaw crew who are, here. I want as many people to benefit as possible, but I don't want them to necessarily take away from your entries and your participation. So if they come, if they don't, it doesn't matter. We're going to build our staking pool so that we're going to be running these every single week, and we'll have a treasure chest of funds to pull from once we have like Truck and Fool or Pips bank a tournament, and refill the treasury there. So all right, so I don't think I missed anything here, so I'm going to give the floor over to Zach to just like let everyone know what this is all about as a just a little vision overview from the man himself.
Sure, absolutely. And they can hear me just fine, right? The way we're doing this.
Well, let's double check. Can I get a 1 in the chat real quick if you can hear Zach well? Let me get a 1 in the chat if y'all can hear Zach. Zach, could you speak to people?
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining our first training session. Hopefully these become really valuable, and this is going to be part of what builds out the library inside the Outlaw Hideout. No offense to our partner here, JustForNow, but we're probably just the first of many trainers, or at least a few trainers, but he's going to be the person helping us mainly, at least for the beginning. So we're super excited. He has together like a whole course curriculum essentially, and it's pretty deep and extensive and covers a lot of aspects of the modern theory of how to really be an effective poker player. So I'm excited, and I just can't wait to see how this really helps people improve the community and win some of these online tournaments. But then it's also going to build out a long-term how do you want to say, a library of content for poker training that we can have in the hideout.
Right.
Did you get a feel while I was giving that overview whether people could hear me well?
Yeah, they all pressed 1 in the chat, so they could hear you all right. So they did get all of that. So thank you for that overview, Zach. Thank you for providing all of our Outlaw holders with this opportunity for education. Like you said, it's going to be in the library for everyone to access in the future. And we have some really good material here, pulling from content from some of the greatest poker coaches of our time. On top of that, we're giving out these raffle staking entries that will build out the base, provide some reward for your education. It's always great to get an education. And on top of that, hopefully when this is successful, we'll pull more people in. And, we're essentially pulling people into the future of metaverse poker. So we need Zach is building this amazing platform, and we need people to play on it. So this is a great way to get our name out there. And we all are going to be eventual equity holders in that metaverse poker room. So this is just an amazing way to reward our early members and build out towards the future. Zach, unless there's anything else you wanted to add on, we could just jump into it.
Yeah, just kind of take it away with kind of what you had planned to go over for this very first one.
Okay, so I think we covered most of the intro. This is the very first of a series of trainings pulling from a lot of great poker educators. You've already, if you are tuning in late, there's a random raffle at the end of the live stream. I'm going to be checking in on the YouTube chat when I provide examples for y'all to provide your feedback, your responses, and whoever provides very innovative responses or correct responses, because some of these are based on accuracy, you will be rewarded with some extra raffle entries into a $55 tournament or less and 2 buy-ins for a $15 tournament or less. And even if you are not a holder, one of those $15 entries is available to you. So I'm going to be popping into the chat periodically, actually right after this next 2 slides. So stay active, y'all. I'm definitely seeing y'all blowing up the chat. I really appreciate it. And I will be selecting a couple of people to get some additional raffle entries here in a second. So the raffle criteria are you have to be a Crypto Outlaw holder to be eligible. You must agree to return 50% of all winnings. So this is a stake. Essentially, some of you are familiar, but if you are staked in a tournament, that's basically someone cutting part of your, or in this case, all of your tournament buy-in for a return of a percentage of your winnings. So we're paying 100% of your tournament entries, and we're only asking for 50% back. So that is an amazing deal. You literally have nothing to lose here. So you have to be a Crypto Outlaw holder for the two of these stakes and the big stake as well. You have to be willing to be staked, so we're not going to send you money if you're not willing to send 50% back. And you must participate in the live streams, which most of y'all are already doing, and you're doing a great job of it. So I already took us to the randomizer, but I'll just click it one more time so we can see where we are with some of these entries. And this would be a great time to jump in the chat, see who's been active, and see if I can add some more names. So let's see. I'm gonna jump over to YouTube real quick, see if I have any new people. The True Man Dan, we gotta get the True Man Dan a raffle entry. He has jumped in here with us. So the True Man Dan.
For sure. Shout out to True Man Dan. He's got back from his vacation. He's like, oh shit, you guys are doing something new.
Yeah. We're keeping it fresh. Zach is always cooking. So Daniel's DZ. Yeah, DZ is from my poker study group. He might be eligible to win that $15 entry. And you know what? It looks like Relentless. We got Relentless here. Might also be able to win a $15 entry. Relentless is also a Crypto Outlaw holder. Actually, he can win the $55 entry. He can win any of the entries. So we have a ton of people here. And Jason asking a great question. So I'm going to add Jason an additional stake here. Jason B. I'm going to fill this wheel as much as possible. So what sites are the stakes for? That is our next slide. So that's why it was such a great question. Question there. We have America's Card Room, betonline.ag, and Ignition Casino to choose from. America's Card Room has the largest guaranteed prizes for tournaments. You know, you get like an $11 Boski is 15K tournament. You know, $11 to win to be part of a 15K prize pool is pretty amazing. But the fields are generally much tougher and larger, and they're tougher because of the quality of player, and also because America's Card Room allows HUD, which is basically poker software to track your opponent's stats at the table. So if you don't have a HUD, you're at a disadvantage, whereas most of these people on America's Card Room might have it, which puts you at a little bit of a disadvantage unless you do have a HUD. But they do have those large guaranteed prize pools, and we are going to let you choose from one of these 3 to compete in. Bet Online has smaller prize pools with smaller fields, but generally the players are softer. I think I just got back into poker in February from a long hiatus, like multi-year hiatus, and I won 3 Bet Online tournaments for, small 3 and 4 figure sums, but still, substantial. And that's why I'm saying there's a smaller prizes, but I tried to transition that to America's Card Room, chase those bigger prizes. I have not final tabled anything at America's Card Room in the month. So, I try to play at least like one or 2 tournaments. Actually, I take it back. I final tabled one America's Card Room, but I got 4th. So, and Ignition is also mid-sized prize pools. I'd say it's between America's Card Room and Bet Online. It's mid-prize. Like they have a nightly event where you can pay $18 for an 18K prize pool, which is pretty amazing too. I mean, that's bigger than the Boski for ACR. It's a generally softer field. Everyone has anonymous usernames. So if you wanted to stake there, you would have to give me your number so I could track you at the very beginning of the tournament that you select, so I can make sure that we are tracking and monitoring that you are returning 50% back, and we're not getting rugged or anything. I know none of y'all would do that, but just in case, we gotta be safe. Always better safe than sorry. And those are our selections for stake. So if you win a stake at the end of this, we will send you some money to compete in one of these 3 platforms. And I'm gonna jump back over here, see how we're doing in the chat, see if we got any new people.
Can I add something?
Yeah, go ahead, Zach. Please. Yeah.
I really like how you laid out the differences between platforms, and I just wanted to mention that I think whoever wins, if they're not really familiar with using a HUD, right? That they probably, I would suggest that they don't do America's Card Room. Yeah. Just for the chances of winning. And then it also brings up a great point, really emphasizes the fact that we should also have a training on actually using HUD and those type of tracking tools to kind of even the playing field if you do plan a platform like that, don't you think?
Yeah, that's a great point, Zach. So we'll add that to the docket to have a HUD training in the future for those of you who want.
That'd be great.
Yeah, some of y'all take poker really seriously. I know I see some names in here from my poker study group that are very serious about poker and would benefit from HUD training and may already even have HUD. So we can talk about how to design it. Trucking Fool saying he always has his HUD up. I'm not surprised. Trucking is a true shark out there. And we'll definitely work that into the future so that you would be more comfortable choosing ACR if you don't have HUD. So thanks for offering that up, Zach. Awesome. So we're going to jump right into what the focus of today is. And the number one thing that you can do to improve faster in poker, regardless of your skill level, really, as a low or even the micro to mid stakes, is apply more pressure. So here at Crypto Outlaws, we do not fold under pressure, we apply it. And this is true in NFT poker. This is true if you get one of those big $55 tickets and you're playing with some more serious competitors. You want to apply more pressure to make sure that you are gaining equity in pots that you might not actually deserve. And just a little feedback, Zach. So I know Zach's driving, y'all, so I'm going to keep him updated on the chat. Max is saying HUD training would be good. Emil also says that he has never used a HUD, so that training might be valuable for him as well. So we're getting some good feedback that, that would be good to incorporate in the near future. So we're essentially going to be talking about the nitty style of poker versus applying pressure and how that varies. And honestly, what it comes down to is waiting for premium hands in a long MTT tournament is a death sentence. We all know blinds go up in a poker tournament. You're constantly having to fight the blinds. You're constantly having to fight against the pressure of not being a short stack. And I wanted to just emphasize, and I know a lot of us aren't very nitty here at Crypto Outlaws, but just to show you the mathematics behind it, if you're waiting for those short stack moments where you have to either all in or fold with 10 big blinds or 15 big blinds or less, and even if you get in good most of those times, you're really putting yourself in a tough spot to take down one of these larger MTTs that we're sponsoring you in. And so we want to show you the math a little bit, and we don't want you to have scared money. So I'm going to just go ahead and pull up this poker tool, the card player poker tool that I'm going to copy paste. And we're going to jump over to the equity you would have for a number of hands in a poker tournament. And I've outlined a couple. So let's say you get in with King versus Ace 10 as your first hand. So let me go ahead and post this to the card player. Card player calculates the odds of us winning this hand, saying we don't know anything. We haven't seen the flop yet, right? Say we're dealt King. We're short stack. We're trying to get it in, and we shove maybe in the blind or on the button, and we get a call. Say we get something like Ace 10, and it could even be like Ace 10 offsuit. So I mean, Ace 10 offsuit, maybe one of the suits is dominated, one suit is not. We have 70% equity to win that hand, even though most of us would agree Kings is way stronger of a hand than Ace 10. So I jump back over to my presentation. I have, we can even be more conservative and say we only have a 70% chance of winning that coin flip if we're short stacked. Say we get back in again, we won't win the coin flip. Even if we win it, we're back at 20 big blinds and we're just waiting for premiums again. Say we get dealt pocket aces, right? And then we go against maybe pocket jacks. And of course, this is not always going to. So this is the most conservative approach, because sometimes you're going to be a guy with pocket jacks with 19% equity going against someone with aces, right? You're not always going to be on the better pre-flop But we're going to give ourselves the best case scenario where we can get in with aces and reasonably being called all in pre-flop. I'm not going to put in like 10-7 suited because that probably wouldn't call an all in for 15 big blinds, but we'll do jack. So basically what this means is we have an 80% chance of winning this hand. But what we have to do to calculate winning the tournament, multiply our odds. It was 70%. Then we have to multiply that by the 0.8%. And then if I did ace king suited versus eights as maybe a later hand, let's say like we get to the final table later on and we're again short stacked and we're really just waiting for those premiums and we get ace king suited, a beautiful hand, and we run against pocket excuse me here. I'm gonna go here. Ace king suited and we go against pocket eights. Even then we're a little bit uncomfortable and we're actually a dog here. We only have a 47.5% equity share of winning this hand, which is why I put a 47% here. And then 10-10 versus king jack off, just like if this is like your final hand of the tournament, you get in with tens versus heads up versus king jack off. And in reality, you're going to have way more all-ins than just 4. So this is like an ideal scenario because you're stacking up big all-ins. Sometimes you're going to race with ace king suited and you're not going to get a single caller. So you wait for those premium hands and you only pick up 2.5 big blinds. But we're giving ourselves the benefit of the doubt and allowing ourselves to get in all these situations, getting in our money pretty good and running into these reasonable spots. What is our chance of winning all 4 of these all-ins when we're the favorites? We've given ourselves so many benefits of the doubt here because it's not going to go like this. Y'all have played poker. It doesn't go like this. But even if we got all these amazing situations where we're the favorite or holding very strong holdings going to an all-in situation, that means we only have combined a 14% chance of winning all of these all-ins, which does not give you great odds of winning a tournament because a true tournament has way more all-ins. You might lose way more small hands. You might not have 10 or even 20 big blinds when you get your kings. You might only have 7 if you lost and chipped off or a lot of those hands. So I don't know if this is surprising to anyone, but your equity chance of just winning these all-in situations is going to get really low as time goes on and on and on. I'm jumping the chat here to check on our participation again. We got the True Man Dan saying you can't play cold, especially when the structure is turbo or buff. That's great, great feedback, True Man Dan. So I'm going to give you another entry here. You can't. We're all here to help each other get better. Yeah. So like we're giving out the alpha to our community members because if they are better, of course, it's going to be a little bit harder for us to win maybe the holders tournaments, but we're all going to benefit if someone banks a huge tournament and they send back $500 into the crypto hold'em treasury, and that's just more stakes for everybody. So we are all going to benefit if we share alpha with each other and participate and provide meaningful feedback. And True Man Dan is especially right. We have to be mindful of the structure. Turbos, we have to even play faster. We have to expand our range. Emil is being transparent, and I'm going to give him an extra entry. He says, story of my poker life all in with scared money every time. And that's true. Like, if I had to play a $55 tournament tonight, knowing that the Crypto Outlaw community is watching me and that they're kind of relying on me to perform well, I would be playing a little bit more tight than I normally would. But honestly, if I were to do that, I am doing a disservice to the community. Because playing tight is a death sentence. You are not going to win by playing tight. And Emil pointed out, yeah, he got it all in with 10-10 versus KK. It didn't work out. And Max is saying it's not surprising, but when you see it laid out, it is enlightening. Thanks for the positive feedback there as well, Max. Get you another entry into our raffle that's going to be taking place shortly. And Daniel pointed out, yeah, even when we get in with ace versus tens, we still have a 20% chance of losing. Like putting your tournament life on 20% chances of losing it's still very uncomfortable. And I even sense this discomfort myself when I'm raising with aces and I see like 2 cars behind. That's terrible. So DZ brings up a great point. What if I'm raising with my aces pre-flop, right? Just shoving all in all the time. Maybe I have 18 big blinds and I raise 2.5 big blinds with my aces pre-flop. And I'm going to say I get reasonable callers. So I get something like someone with a 10-10, which is reasonable. And then maybe someone in the big blind over here gets the equity to call with 5-6 of hearts, right? So my 80% chance of winning just dropped to 60, and 5-6 hearts is like a very marginal holding, right? So this is a real situation that we all deal with, and I don't want to put my tournament life on 60% chance. That's basically flipping a coin. And I think most of us here who play poker aren't all the types to try to just get it on a coin flip, right? We believe in the skill element of the game. Otherwise, we could play roulette and download a roulette app and spend $100 off or $50 off. And there's less thrill for me as a poker player in playing roulette than it would be for playing poker. We believe in the skill aspect of the game, and we don't want to put ourselves in situations where our tournament life is at stake with only a 60% chance to win. So that's going to be another session later on where we talk about overcommitting. We don't want, if this isn't an all-in situation and the flop does come, let's say the flop does come 10, 10-3 jack or something like that. We don't want to get our tournament life in with such low equity. And as you can see, when someone spikes their 10, they become the favorite and we lose a ton of equity. Or even if I change the 3 of hearts to like a 7 of hearts, now we have like we're major dogs, major dogs in this hand. So we have to apply pressure. So we're not just worried about these high leverage situations to ship it. We don't want to be putting our tournament life on those few instances when we're holding premiums. We have to be willing to win a lot of the small pots. Going back to the chat, Pips is talking about at the end is not who held the strongest hand pre-flop, but who gets lucky half from the flop to river. I want to evaluate that response, Pips, and Pips knows I love him, so I'm gonna come a little bit harsher at Pips because he knows I have love for him regardless. That's exactly what we don't want to. That's not the mindset we want. We don't want to say it's just about luck because no one's forcing us to go all in on the flop here. If it goes, 5 or 6 hearts, big blind, check, bet, call from the big blind, raise, no one's forcing us to call that raise, right? No one is forcing us to do that. When we made a bet, someone called and the 10s raised. It's up to us at that point to let our premiums go, understanding that we are probably in a bad spot here, and we're gonna get later into that in the training, but we're not forced to get it all in, right? So we don't have to leave it to chance when we can make the decision to back off. But I think y'all get of what's going on with that. But Pips, you brought up a really good point in information there. And what's going on with my so this is the real one. So I'm gonna put Pips for bringing up another great discussion topic. We're all getting better together, y'all. So I definitely understand that. We're not all coming here at the same level, and I'm not shaming anyone, but I'm trying to evaluate our approaches, and I'm not going to have all the answers either. I actually appreciate Truck and Fool, Emil bringing up some really good points. I know Relentless is a great poker player. So if y'all want to provide feedback, I'm not going to have all the answers. So if you want to provide perspectives, this is what this is all about. This is community. We're going to hear and we're going to get better together. Going through the chat again. True Man Dan brings up another great point. Sometimes we're going to get someone who's playing, especially in NFT poker, which is mostly free rolls. These people aren't going to care. So going back to the equity calculator, we could be seeing something like, Jack 7 offsuit. And still, if it wasn't a premium, some dog playing Jack 7 offsuit because they don't really care or they're bored, this is a free roll. We're still major dogs. So we have to be mindful of the range of hands that our players could have and being able to walk away when we know we're not good. Because in poker, you don't deserve to win. That's the problem that even I have sometimes. I feel like I have pocket aces. I raise this hand. It's a relatively dry flop. I deserve to win this hand. Board might run out in my favor. We don't deserve anything in poker. You really have to make cold calculations sometimes. And Jason Emil, thank you for the feedback, acknowledging that we need to widen our range and experienced players change up their poker style as well. Yeah, we're gonna that y'all are getting into very complex concepts like balancing ranges and stuff like that, mixing it up. But you're bringing up really good points, and Zach and I have this planned out. We will cover it, but this is already really enough for the day, and we have to keep moving with our presentation. So let's keep going. So we've already talked about, and I think we really have well established why playing and committing to just our premiums in high leverage situations is not a good idea. Bluffing pressure, though, lets you win pots that you don't deserve to win. So coming back to our equity calculator, we have a ton of pressure on us in these aces, but let's give our opponent something with less equity, right? Let's just say we're facing the big blind raiser, and this person can have like king 9. So say 5-6 of hearts calls the bet. So we'll go back in the situation. It was call. Aces bets, 5-6 of hearts flats, and king 9 sees an opportunity here to raise. Maybe he thinks that the aces is playing light and a flat from the big blind is kind of weak. Maybe they see a flat from the big blind is weak on maybe what is a scary board. So king of hearts makes it like 5x the bet from aces. Aces in this case actually has the most equity, but because of that strong raise from king 9, and maybe we're talking about like in a $55 tournament situation where you're playing against people who care about their money, and in a $55 tournament which one of y'all is going to win, and you make this raise with king 9 where you have a double gutter, would get you a straight or an 8 to a straight, and you make it 5x, aces folds, and then your 23% equity jumps to 54. And maybe you get a 5-6 of hearts and turns this like a 5 of clubs, and you bet again and they fold it out, right? Oh, excuse me. Let's make it right here. So even if they gain equity, but they're not sure what you have. Maybe they think you have a set of 7s or jack 10. They check, you bet again, you continue barreling, and then a 4 clubs. No, we can't give them the nuts. That makes it too easy. Well, actually, that's fine. I mean, it's not the nuts. 4, 5, 6, 7 is not a full straight. So they have a pair of 5s at this point. So that all of their real draws that they were hoping for missed. And king 9 barrels again. 5 or 6 of hearts, even with 100% equity, is probably going to fold out here. And you're going to realize a ton of equity that you didn't deserve because of your aggression here. And of course, you're not going to be able to 3-barrel bluff all the time. But this is just, again, an example of how aggression can help you win equity in realistic situations when we probably shouldn't win. Because if I'm the person holding 5-6 of hearts, putting that back up there, and I had someone check raise on the flop and barrel again on the turn and river, even though I have a 4th pair on the river and I have a ton of odds to call, I'm not going to make that call because I'm wondering to myself, like, what can I beat here? And I don't really put myself or my opponent on king 9.
Just checking with you real quick. Do you see those messages from some stupid account? Can you block them?
Oh yeah, the naked Tinder. I'm sorry, guys. I was way into.
No, I was trying not to interrupt you, but
yeah. Let me just like report them.
I think block, or I don't know what the options it gives you as the speaker.
It lets me delete the messages and report them. Let me add, True Man Dan, I see that you are super active as well. And Pips, I'm gonna make you a moderator. You're gonna help me mod the chat so you can delete the messages, Pips, if you see them and I'm just like lost in the clouds. So I have just made you a mod.
Can I mention something else, Pips? You can be mod here too.
Yes, sir. Please.
Can I just mention something else besides like another up to playing aggressively besides winning some pots that maybe you should have?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So the obvious other advantage of playing a little bit more aggressively is that you're going to give yourself a chance to actually get called down when you do make a huge hand.
Right. So you do want. Okay, go ahead. I don't want to steal from you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. I'm sure you can expand upon it too. But if you play so straightforwardly that when you show it down at the end, it's the nuts, every single time, and you're playing with people that are, observant at all, then people are just going to start getting out of your way.
Right.
And so, it's not only that you don't win those smaller pots that you should be trying to pick up and find the spots to play aggressively and win them, even if you don't have the best hand. But then also, if you do have the best hand, you're making yourself incredibly easy to play against and very, very difficult to get paid off on any big hands, unless maybe you're all in pre-flop, ironically.
Right.
Pointing out is kind of
Absolutely. Zach brings up a great point, and that's kind of some elevated strategy that maybe even Zach can lead out in a couple weeks, where you need to mix up your range. You want to get paid off with your big hands, and if you are just playing straightforward poker and you're winning just these small pots, you're not maximizing your equity, you're not maximizing your value, and so bluffing and getting caught isn't the worst thing. You might get paid off next time where you actually do have the nuts and you're building a huge pot. And being aggressive with your value. Say you already have the nuts, you want to aggressively build that pot and not just like try to super slow play it, check, flop, check, turn, and barrel for 1/2 pot river, because you've really minimized the amount of value that you're going to get from the pot. So Zach brings up a great point. It's not just winning the equity that you don't deserve. So when you have the nuts, when you have the equity, you want to aggressively chase that value from the hand. Instead of slow playing it, because especially in NFT poker, or maybe in one of the $15 or $18 tournaments that two people here are going to be staked into, people are going to be more loose with their holdings. They might be calling with second pair or gut shot straight draw, and you don't want to be choosing value when they would be calling. So aggressively chasing more value for your hands, especially when you're super nutted, is a great idea, and it protects your bluffs in the future and allows you to gain more equity from your strong hands. So great point. Zach, thank you for steering me in the right direction there.
Yeah, no problem. That's just an additional aspect.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so
we can get into way more technical details on when to be aggressive and more details, but I love this just general discussion as our very first training ever, right? About explaining why is it only that the aggressive play style can win essentially in the long run?
Right.
Only tight aggressive or loose aggressive. And more nowadays, it's it's a really exact sciencey kind of blend. But those are the only playing styles that can ever be winning poker players. Neither of the passive approaches can be winning poker players in the long run.
Right.
So I love that we're just starting with the core concept of winning poker, which is that you have to play aggressively to at least some extent, and we're explaining why that's kind of the core starting philosophy for being a good poker player, even if it's kind of below the skill level of some of our players that are going on to make kind of more advanced points about it and stuff like that.
Absolutely, totally agree there. Okay, we're running out of time. So Zach and I were thinking we didn't have enough material, but we have so many points coming from the community.
We got an hour. We got 20
yeah.
What is this? We've prepared, I think, some really interesting videos and quizzes and stuff, right?
Right. So I've been up until now, I've just been giving some points away, giving some entries away for this great participation that we've been getting. Now we're gonna jump into some borrowed material from pokercoaching.com. We're this is probably a one-time thing. We're gonna have our own in the future, but this is just to show you all that Zach and I are really doing our due diligence, and we're not just pulling this stuff out of our butt. These are some of the best poker coaches in the world who are going to co-sign a lot of what we're teaching you. And in fact, we're co-signing what they said. We're pulling from them. We're not just creating this material off the fly. We're doing our research, we're doing our studying, and we're just bringing it to you in new formats that might be a little bit more easier to communicate, and also because we don't have all the subscriptions in the world. But if you do want some extensive poker coaching, pokercoaching.com is awesome. It's run by Jonathan Little, who has 10 million plus in tournament winnings, and he has a bunch of other poker coaches under him. And one of these guys right here is the Assassinato Alex Fitzgerald. We're going to watch a quick video and see what he wants to teach us today about aggression. So from here on out, we are going to do some merit-based answers. So if you respond with the right answer is how you're going to get an entry from here on out. So let's jump into our first quiz to talk about exploitative poker and being really aggressive. Okay.
All right, you're starting with ace king suited under the gun. Would you like to raise to 80, 120, or 140?
So if you couldn't hear the audio, I tried to max it out, but if you couldn't hear it, all he's saying is ace king under the gun. Do you want to raise to 80, 120, or 140? And I'm going to close Discord because it's just beeping and blowing up. So I don't know what's going on, but we're closing it. So we're UTG. Are we going to raise to 80, 120, or 140? Post your answers in the chat. Whoever is correct is going to get the entries. So if you post the wrong answer, you're going to be wrong. If you post the right answer, you're going to be right.
By the way, just for fun, just tell you guys, I didn't cheat on any of these answers of the quizzes. Only really Brandon knows, so I'm going to try and play along.
Okay.
We'll see how I do.
Yeah, I have gone through all of the training, obviously, to bring it to you. So let's see who's right here. I'm going to put the most replied answer in the chat, even though it's actually wrong, and it's raised to 120. And before I played the video, because we're not just ripping the content, the best answer was raised to 140. So Pips is getting an entry there, and so is DZ. So why is it that we are raising to 140 instead of 120 here when most of us have been taught about the standard raise about 3x? What did Zach just tell us about? How often are you getting ace king suited in the tournament? And we are very, very deep. You need to pay attention to the details here. This is a 10K stack with chips as the big blind. How often are you getting ace king suited? And are you maximizing your value or chasing your value by going for 120? Going for 140 this early in the tournament incrementally builds the pot so you are chasing your value as fast as you can. So unfortunately, Zach, you put 120 even though you were the one to give us the alpha about chasing our value. So DZ and Pips are getting an extra entry here for the 140 answer. Pips, can you post in the chat if Max responded on time? Because I got a little bit lost, but I did not think Max responded on time. I could be wrong. I thought I looked and Pips was the last answer. But Max, did you respond on time? I'm just going to go by the honor code. So if you posted that you responded on time, I will honor it. But next time, make sure you get your answers in as fast as possible, y'all. Because live poker and even internet poker, you're on a clock. You have to make a decision fast. You don't want to go into your time bank. So try to make sure that we're going fast. But it's just a little entry. So I'm going to give Max the entry this time. But please make sure you are responding quickly, y'all. He said his stream cut out, but he didn't see the answer, so I'm not going to ignore him for that. That's fine. All right, so now let's what happens. So we raise 140 chasing that equity, right?
Pretty much the only situation, according to the databases I've looked at, where you do not make a considerable amount of money with this hand is if someone 3-bets you and you call. That's not because the 3-better is a great player. It's just because as the defender in poker, it's always very difficult to make money. You pretty much are left with the option of calling down and hoping things work for the best. But if you're the raiser, you can bluff, you can slow the other guy down into letting you see more cards. I think 140 does the best of this. 160.
DZ says he can't hear it. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to max it as much as I can. So I'm just going to, since I've been through the training, I'm going to tell you what he's saying. He's saying when you raise to 140, ace king is a very strong hand that wins a lot of the time. So thank you, True Man Dan. Thank you, DZ, for pointing that out. Ace king suited is a strong hand that wins a lot of the time. So you want to play a hand like ace king suited in a larger pot, especially when you raise to 140. You're kind of polarizing the ranges of people who are going to call. So really, the only people who might have even decent equity to call with like a 6-7 suited or a 9-10 suited are going to be in the blinds. Raising UTG 140 is very strong. So Jade 1, Turtle, DRZ, unless they're very nutty themselves pre-flop, they're not going to get in the mix with you for a 140 raise. That's more than 3x. So you want to try to get in position as UTG. You have a very strong hand. it plays very well. So you want to play in a big pot. Kind of pretty much what we talked about before. But since we can't hear, I'm just going to fast forward to the flop. So we get a 140. We get the big blind call. So that's not abnormal. They have some equity already by having their big blind out there to defend. And the flop comes queen spades, queen diamonds, jack of spades. In the chat, now you have a 50-50 chance. With ace king of clubs, do you check or bet half pot? Are we checking here or are we betting half pot with ace king of clubs? Okay, you have an online clock, usually about like 20 seconds. So I'm going to take all responses in about 5 seconds here. All right. Welcome back, Relentless. Relentless. Max. Pips. Okay, we're closing our answers. So Pips is going to be my last answer. That's my benchmark. I can remember his name easily. The correct answer here is bet half pot. So because we can't hear, let me just go over it real quick. Betting half pot was the most popular answer too.
Let's try. Can you just crank it all up and let me see, because I think I could hear it. Just try it one more time.
Okay. I'm cranking it all the way up.
Okay.
Just like I do, and people aren't going to know who you are. I've been publishing articles for 10 years. Nobody knows who I am at WPTs. I think it's honestly the words that went through my head was it would be very profoundly narcissistic to think that people are paying that much attention to me. And what ends up happening is we watch these high-scale training videos where people say, well, you should check back here, and you should do that so you're not easily exploitable. Because if you're c-betting ace high, conceivably you're c-betting too much, and people could check raise you, that's a very fair point.
Okay, I got y'all. I hear y'all. So it's hard to hear. So what he's basically saying is, when you sit down at a poker table, especially internet, I mean, you're sitting down and no one is going to know you. Or actually, maybe even live. If you're just going to a live event, you're going to a live event. If you sit down with everyone in a 10K starting stack, some guy just raised more than 3x big blinds, and you have a wide calling range. You're willing to mix it up. You're in the big blind. You call. You have some equity in, and he bets half pot. You don't know anything about him. What Alex was saying is like people don't even know him. He's been writing for poker blogs. He's a millionaire winner. People don't know him, and it's kind of like presumptuous to think that they are going to play a certain style of poker because they know you, or they're going to assign a certain type of play style to you because they know you. If a guy bets 150 here, Emil, he's not chasing the straight. You're regaining equity here. You're regaining equity. So even if this guy, let's put it in the solver, okay, or in the equity calculator. Let's put ace king of clubs over here, how we did before, and let's see. Put the same exact flop: ace clubs, king of clubs, and then we'll do queen of spades. I think it was jack of spades. I'm gonna have it in the wrong order probably, but I remember the cards. Spades, queen of hearts. That order, I guess, doesn't matter. It might tilt y'all, but no, queen of diamonds.
Brandon, can you mention, like, why was he bringing up the point that, hey, nobody's gonna know you?
Nobody's gonna know you. No one's gonna know your play style, right? So
no, but why does that matter?
Oh, right. Why does that matter? Thank you, Zach. So why does that matter? So from your opponent's perspective, they think you're a maniac. You just raised UTG 3x, and now you're on a very dangerous board. And if they're not nutted, they're not going to mess with you. Like, and let's go back to the equity here. I have ace king of clubs. Let's say someone was just trying to get crazy with 8 of hearts, 9 of hearts. Sorry, let's get that to their hand. So they're defending their big blind.
I thought maybe was he saying something about maybe it's because they could exploit you betting on that board by check raising you? What was he saying there?
So the argument he was making is a lot of poker coaches argue that you need to check to defend your checking range. So if you are exploitable, if every time you check you're weak, if every time you check you're weak, you don't want to always be c-betting essentially. And I'm sure this is material that we can cover in a later session. But if you c-bet 100% of your hands, eventually when you check back a flop that you really don't like, or when the blinds are higher and you only have 20 big blinds and you really don't want to c-bet and you check, that is super exploitable for your opponent to be like, okay, he's got nothing. I'm gonna donk bend the turn and he's gonna fold out his hand. So some poker coaches, according to Mr. Fitzgerald here, would recommend checking, because you don't want to be exploitable in the future, or even in this isolated situation where if you bet and he raises you and you fold, your C bets in the future are going to be super exploitable. So if I had a C bet this flop 150 and I get raised and I fold out, that's exploitable. People in the future are going to know that I'm C betting weak. And so what Alex is saying is sometimes other poker coaches argue that you should check, because you don't want to have to bet and get raised and then have that happen to you in the future, because you just proven yourself exploitable at that very moment.
Well, because is he saying because you'd be betting with too strong of hands, and then like if you check, then you have something weak, right?
Yes, I think it's two things. Well, two things. What if we bet here and we have to fold it out, because we're not going to call raise. If we bet 150 and they raise to 450, we should be out of this hand. They're going to be pretty strong, because if we think about their raising range, are they raising jack hearts? Probably not. They're not going to be raising 7-7, 8-8, 9-9, anything like that. Most of the time, it would probably be something like maybe king queen offsuit, something like that. And we would not have the equity call, as you can see later. You might chase the gut shot. Emil had brought up the point that we do have outs to a straight, but those 4 outs to a straight would multiply by 4. Yeah, we wouldn't have the equity for a call if we got 3x raised here. So, but we could, and this is something I'll definitely work on in the future. I will maybe do a transcript, or actually, yeah, I can't do a transcript on our quiz. They don't have the transcript option. I'll make sure that we have the audio louder. I'm sorry, y'all. So
okay, because it'd be good to hear exactly what he's saying and how he's saying it.
Okay.
Since he's such a good he
is, yeah, he's way better than us. So let me narrate everything that he has said here.
Okay, because I was super curious to see where he was going with that lineup.
Okay, let me rewind 10 seconds.
Conceivably, you're c-betting too much, and people could check you, that's a very fair point. What they don't say is they're saying, I check back here 30% of the time, right? If there's a club on the board, I check back 40% of the time. That would be more intellectually honest. And another thing that a lot of coaches don't say is if they're playing against Johnny Pasco, random guy, they're just going to bet and cash out their equity here, because Johnny Pasco has a lot of hands that have decent equity here. He has 9-8. He doesn't realize it, but he has a very decent equity share in this pot. If he has 2s, he has a very good equity share in this pot. Many of these hands will go ahead and fold if you go ahead and bet. And while you're not really getting value from a whole lot, except for maybe ace-10, maybe some spade draws and whatnot, if you check, anytime you're checking or calling and you're hoping the turn and river go check, ask yourself, what percentage of the time is that really going to happen? If your answer is less than 20% of the time, that's about what I have too. That's what I see in a lot of my databases. And if that means, if you don't know what to do to a turn bet most of the time, that means 80% of the time you're going to be pitching your cards on the turn, which I don't think is
okay, I'm gonna pause right there. I don't want to lose too much of what he said right there. So he's saying if you bet 150 here, and in the big blind they had 8-9 of hearts or 2-2, they don't realize they have equity, but they're probably gonna muck their hand, right? So let's go back to the scenario and put what he said. Let's say we give them 8-9 of hearts. If they have 8-9 of hearts, they have actually 70% equity to win the hand. That's not bad. That means we really own only 80% of this pot. But if we bet 150, then we own 100% of the pot, right? If we bet 150 and he folds, which I don't see him continuing with 8-9, then we automatically earn 19% equity that we don't deserve. That kind of going back to what we said earlier, we want to secure the equity that we don't deserve. He even brought up the point that what if he's just holding 2-2, right? The villain is holding 2-2. They're 40. They got 49% equity in this pot. So it's pretty much a coin flip. So do I want to secure, or do I want to have 49% equity in this pot, or do I want to bet 150 and 2-2 is going to fold? They really are going to be like, well, what am I going to beat? Even if he's bluffing, I can't call a turn and a river with just 2-2 unless I boat out, right? So they'll probably muck their hand. They realize they missed this flop hard. It's not good for them. Even if us holding the ace king are bluffing, they probably don't want to continue the hand with a call. They're going to probably just muck it at very early stages in the tournament, even though they have a 49% equity share in the hand. So we bet 150 so that we can secure 100% of this pot, whereas right now we only own 49.9% of the pot. That's essentially what Alex was saying. And Zach, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about that and how you're reflecting on that while I add some of the people who got right about the bet 150. If you're free.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah,
go for it. Yeah, no problem. I was just wanting to hear what he was what he was saying and what his ideas on that flop were, and why he was saying he would bet. I think the point that he said about balancing his range was interesting, where a lot of the pros that are telling you that to check there sometimes, honestly, they're only checking 30% of the time, and so if it's against a random you don't play with often, just to go with the more correct move 100% of the time is not necessarily going to cause an issue or make it to where you're easy to exploit.
Right.
I think he's bringing up a bigger point, that is your opponents in general in most situations, unless maybe they're using a HUD or something, are going to be a lot less observant than you might think. So the kind of theoretical aspect of balancing your ranges and sometimes doing a less ideal play just to make yourself, harder to read or harder to play against doesn't necessarily have to be done as often as theory would state,
Absolutely.
Because your players aren't observing you that closely.
Yeah.
They're not playing perfect poker against you.
And I think that's what he was saying. You're right. I totally missed out on that when he was talking about himself and like how he's written all these books. No one really cares about him, or they hardly recognize him, like you mentioned. They're not really paying that much attention, to your point. Okay, so I added the new entries who got it right. So let's see what happens on the turn. You bet 150, the villain. I'm going to just fast forward because we are really running out of time now. What does the villain do?
Anyway, I bet he calls.
Bet and call. Bet and call, ace of diamonds on the turn. Our options are check, bet 200, or bet 300. If you're still with us in the chat, we got pretty much, it looks like everyone's still with us in the chat. Post your answer to what you should do here to get an extra raffle ticket. Ace of diamonds on the turn. What do you do? I'm going to give everyone about 20 seconds. Are we checking, betting 200, or betting 300?
What's the size of the pot?
The size is 600. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. It's 600. So are we checking in this pot of 600? Are we betting 200 third pot, or are we betting half pot 300? Let's see what we got. So we have Trucking Fool says check. True Man Dan and Pips are saying bet 200, bet 200, bet 200. Zach said 200. Emil Roland said 300. I will go with the most popular and we'll see what was correct. Any last second entries? Last second. DZ, you still with us? 300. Anybody? Okay.
And
so,
Brandon, if you can do me a favor, after we see the answer, let's really listen to his reasoning and then give a recap. I know we're going to end up going like 3 or 4 minutes over, but
and that's totally fine. Yeah, and we want to give credit to him. And I don't want, and you bring up a good point. I don't want to misspeak what he's saying either. I want to, I don't want to misconstrue his point. So the most popular answer was bet 200. Let's see if that answer was right.
You want to bet about 300 here. The reason
Bet 300 was the right answer.
A lot of people like
damn.
I don't understand. You're almost always getting value from 10-9. You're getting value from 2 spades. You're getting value from a jack. I don't see king jack, jack 10, jack 9 even really folding here as much as they should. You get value from if you just randomly peeled with 2 diamonds, which does happen. People do just.
So his initial point right here is you now have a stronger hand that you can get value from weaker hands. So he's saying there's a bunch of hands that called on the flop that you get value from. He's saying you get value from any spade combo, right? Spade combos called as flop, 5, 6 of spades, 10, 9 of spades, king 4 of spades. Any spade combo calls the flop. He's saying ace 10 might call the flop. Double diamonds might call the flop. He's saying something like 9, 10 of diamonds might have called the flop. And you want to get more equity from those hands. You want to build, like Zach said earlier, get equity from these hands. Let's build a pot. Now that there's a ton of hands that called on the flop that we are still strong against, let's make sure we get equity from those hands. He was even mentioning like Jack 9 of hearts is probably still calling a half pot bet. So why check when we can bet? Our opponent has has a weaker holding, and we can still get more value and pull out more value from them. Let's see what he says in the last 2 minutes.
Just check call with 9, 8 of diamonds there. You're getting money from person. You're also getting money from ace 10. You're getting money from ace 9 of spades, ace 8 of spades. And people do not check raise turns ever. According to the databases I've looked at, it's 7% of the time, which is sets plus. When a guy makes 2 pair, he check raises the turn. That's what I have found is true about most of the field. So there's not really a 2 pair he can make here. I think a lot of times he would have check raised a queen on the flop, so I'm not too worried about that. Honestly, I'm not really thinking that much about what I could get beat by when I always start with this. I am betting for value or a bluff. This is all I do in my head every time I play. And
okay, he's getting a little. He's going on to multiple points here, so I want to stop here. He mentioned that if someone was holding a queen here, they would probably want to raise on the flop unless they're boated like queen jack. They're probably raising because the spades are out there. There are straight combos that he's mentioned thoroughly: 9, 10, king 10, even something weaker like ace king, which we have in terms of straight draws. They're out there, and a queen holding probably would have raised the flop. So he's not too worried about a queen holding, which is why he's trying to extract value. So let's hear part of his point here.
It puts me ahead of so many people. It is astounding because this is just basic live poker 101. I am betting for you or a bluff. I am betting for value here, clearly. What do I get called by? If that list is 20 hands long, I'm just going to go ahead and bet.
Okay, so he's saying, is this a bluff or is this value? Because we're not bluffing out queens, is what he's saying. And so he doesn't expect his opponent to have queens, as he mentioned. He's not bluffing off queens. He thinks he has the best hand because he's expecting queens to have raised on the flop, which is a pretty dangerous sport. So he's betting 300 for value. This is a value bet from him. And he is giving his opponent a range of 20 hands that could call the flop. Jack 9, 9, 10, double spades, so many spade combinations that we talked about, right? Even some diamond combinations. And he said, if that list of hands is 20 hands long, a bet here makes sense because all those hands are getting beat by ace king right now. So there's 20 hands that call the flop that are beat by ace king. Bet for value. Bet for value. And that's why he's betting 300. All right, let's listen to this last minute.
If he check raises me, most of the time he has it because most people can't check raise. So I'm going to go ahead here and bet. A lot of people say check for pot control or what do I do if he check raises? It's like, well, again, according to everything I've ever studied, every tournament I've ever watched, people do not check raise turns indiscriminately. They probably should check raise here with 9, 8 of diamonds once in a while. How many combos are there of 9, 8 of diamonds? Exactly, there's one. It's not going to happen that often. They should be turning Jack 7 of hearts into a bluff here. When was the last time you turned Jack 7 of hearts into a bluff here? It does not happen.
So he's saying, no one's check raising you here. You don't have to be worried about check raise unless, and in the cases that they do check raise you, they are going to be nutted and you can just get out of the hand. So it really doesn't make a difference. If you get check raise here, which he says not a lot of people have the capability to do, that's not in a lot of books where they're not nutted and they're check raising with like 8, 9s and diamonds. He's saying that doesn't really happen on this board. So why are you afraid? Just bet 300. If you get check raised, muck your hand. And what's funny about that is we're so worried to bet this turn where we could be gaining value of a queen. Maybe they're holding king queen. Well, what happens on the river if it comes like a brick, like 2 of hearts? They're going to bet 300 and you're going to pay them off. So it really doesn't make a difference. You kind of isolate their hand now by betting on the turn. And if they raise you, which he says most people don't have it in their arsenal as a bluff, you're probably beat, which means muck your hand. Zach, you're bringing up some really good conversation points with some people in the chat. So I wanted you to talk about like checking here on the turn and, the psychology behind that while I add these last raffle tickets for everyone who said bet 300.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, he's adding the last raffle tickets. I didn't have too much to talk about. We were just having kind of a sidebar conversation about, okay, what hands are we putting them on from how they played on the flop, and when they call that bet, basically me and True Man Dan were assuming that pretty much they either had two spades at a spade draw, or they've got one queen. But that seems kind of unlikely, actually. I'm less putting them on a queen for the same reasons that this coach trainer did, because I think actually they would bet the queen in almost all situations, trying to not have someone draw out on them, because that's a really draw heavy board.
Right.
So I'm not putting them on that unless they just totally have us crushed and they had jack queen suited or something like that. Then we're crushed no matter what. There's a small chance, but out of the probability of all the different hands that they have, the chance that they have jack queen is a low percentage chance. So we should be kind of assuming that they don't have that unless they prove it otherwise.
Right. And I think the only combinations of queen jack that call here are queen jack of hearts or queen jack of clubs. Probably an unsuited queen jack doesn't call a 3.2 whatever pre-flop raise in the big blind out of position. So you're right. Likely. Yeah, I think you're right on.
That reduces their combos even more.
Right, exactly. So we're reducing combos by holding the ace of clubs and king of clubs too.
We should have a whole training on combos.
Oh gosh, we have so much to train on. Which is really exciting for this community.
Poker's such a rich game.
These
training sessions are going to be awesome.
Absolutely, yeah. So, and we're going to talk about ways to maybe get more people in here to promote and maybe incentivize people coming in. So Zach and I, we're going to brainstorm, and Zach will come up with something for y'all. I did want to bring up something Max said. He says he would expect a check raise, and maybe that's more likely in some of the tournaments we play in our community. But the thing is, these tournaments that Zach and I are paying for this week are not just going to be in our community, Mac, right? We're trying to get you ready to go play with someone who's buying into a $55 online tournament or a $15 online tournament, which is pretty much low to mid stakes. So we do need to make sure that we're preparing you not just to compete with other crypto outlaws, but with other players as well.
Yeah, normal players that are actually playing to win like $3,000 or something like that, they're going to play more, tighter and straightforwardly.
Right.
Obviously, they'll still be bluffing, and that's part of the game, but they won't be doing this wild kind of crazy stuff that they do in some of our free rolls.
Right.
With the databases was very enlightening, because that's over huge ranges. I don't know what the word I was looking for there, but a huge data set of a ton of different situations. And that's something that we can learn. If you expected a check raise there, that's maybe something that you just learned there. I kind of learned that there. That was interesting. That's why I was making notes of it in there. That apparently that's extremely rare for someone to check raise on the turn, especially if they don't have it, almost to the point where it never happens. So that's really cool. It makes it easy to play against that. Basically, don't be worried about them check raising, so feel free to raise there with kind of a marginal strong hand, not fearing the check raise. But then also, if they do check raise, you basically know, there's like a 95% chance that they're nutted, so you can just bow out without losing too much.
You probably would have lost the same amount as if you checked the turn and they bet the river. You probably was the same thing, right? They bet 300 on the river if they're nutted, and you call, so it's like the same anyway. So it really makes more sense to get that equity now on the turn. Okay, so this question.
Try to see maybe if you're like, what's his last analysis or something like that.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up right here, because here comes the river, dirty river, right? 9 of spades. What a stinking card, right? Well, it doesn't really matter for straights. King 10 already got there. Maybe 10 8 of spades gets there. I don't really know. I don't want to talk too much, because it's time for y'all to make a decision for our last question of the night before we spin the wheel. Are we calling, raising to 2,800, or folding? Last chance to get raffle tickets, y'all. Then we are going to spin 3 times, and we'll have Pips or Pips. Could you please record the winners? Write them down so that we can get their funds to them and tell them the next steps. And if you do win the raffle while you are writing your answer, if you win the raffle more ticket in the Outlaws.
Yeah, how big is? I'm sorry, everyone's trying to give their answers. How big is the bet that we're deciding if we call?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Zach is not able to see the screen. So, River comes. Our pot is 1,200, and Villain bets pot. So Villain bets pot 1,200. So I got the naked XYZ spamming again. I'm going to ignore them and block them. But I'm going to look because I actually didn't fast forward to the pot size bet. Jason, you are going to be the marker for me. Jason, you're the marker with your fold. You're the last person who gets to change their answer. Or I'm going to say True Man Dan, you're the first answer. If anyone wants to change their answer because I didn't show the bet sizing, Villain bets pot. All right. So True Man Dan is now the first answer. So repeat your answer if you posted before True Man Dan in the chat so I can see what you're supposed to do or what your answer is. Repost your answer just so I make sure that we got it. Wow, there's a lot of spam.
Yeah, is there a block? You should have a block as the presenter.
I'm trying. I put the user on timeout.
Yeah, close enough. All right.
I'm sorry. I'm not. It's about to end anyway. So True Man Dan is the first response. If you responded really early, respond again because we now realize they're betting pot. So we can call Zach. We can raise to 2,800, or we can fold. Those are our 3 options. When Villain bets pot, 1,200, in a pot of 1,200. So.
Yeah, I put in my answer. I said fold. We'll see if I'm right.
Okay. So the most popular answer here is fold. Emil, I'm so sorry that I could not kick him. I am new to this. I'm new to streaming. I'm more of a poker player rather than a streamer. So I will get better. I'll figure it out. I'm sorry about that, Emil, and everybody else. Okay. So let's see what he says. The most popular answer was fold. So I will put that in. And for everyone who said fold, that is right. I know that because I did this.
You have to fold here.
We're folding.
Call is what I see a lot of people do here, which is before you call, you should run through this in your head. Again, this is 90% of what I do in poker is rooted in a few anchoring thoughts. And if you start with the most important thought, because if you think about it, when you play poker, if you're playing live, you get about 12 seconds to react before everybody starts staring at you awkwardly. If you're playing online, you get about 30 seconds. You better have a order of operations in your mind.
All he said so far is like, make sure you are prepared a response for this river bet because you don't have that much time to act. In summation.
Start flitting away on details that do not mean a great deal. You're going to waste through your time. So I just start with the base thoughts, and then when I think of that, I realize how out of character I'm getting. I'm going to call here. Now, a lot of people do call because, well, they have top pair, top kicker. I see this every time I play live. People just don't want to fold. The other thing is, if they don't have to show their hand and they have a pretty good.
All right, so what he's saying is top pair, top kicker. He sees most people call here because that's a pretty strong hand, and he's also bringing in the psychological element where people don't have to show their hand because we're not the first one to act here. We're not having our bet called. We're calling. So he's talking about the psychological aspect where it's not as embarrassing when you can just muck your hand if someone shows over and turns over the nuts. Whereas it's more embarrassing if you get caught bluffing. And I do have to fast forward through this part a little bit. We're just gonna skip to the end and maybe revisit this next week. But there is a psychological element in poker where people, especially in live, don't want to get caught bluffing. And that's something that Alex talks about a lot. I promise I'll revisit it, but I hope you all understand my wife was expecting me back at 9:10. So I have not left yet. So I am going to wrap this quiz up, put in the right answers. And I think we have a ton to talk about next week, Zach. Really good stuff from the community. Did you want to give us some closing thoughts while I put in whoever answered correctly?
No, not really. Yeah, we're short on time, so no closing thoughts for today, except for that was awesome. Wow, I can really see the potential in this kind of training, especially next time we'll just jump like straight into it. Everyone knows the structure. So that was just awesome. Let's do some raffles, dude.
Awesome. Okay, so I have got everyone who got it right, and now we're gonna do these spins. So this first spin is 50. Well, actually, we'll do it like this. It's if you spin and you're a community holder, you're probably automatically gonna take the 55. If we've landed on your name and you're not a community holder, you're just gonna have to get the 15, and you're gonna be the only one who can get the 15 because the other 55 and 15 are going to community holders. So just a heads up, parent. If you're not a community holder, you can only win 115, and that's the only one that we're giving out. So if you want to look on our OS or Discord and mint a Crypto Outlaw, because we're going to be continuing to do this for a while, you're going to get a lot of value by being here. And I've had a blast. I think Zach's had a blast, and we've seen the potential. So
awesome. I can really see how cool this is going to be. And then one last thing, if you do win one of these raffles, you need to go open a support ticket in the Discord for Crypto Outlaws, and then give your YouTube username, okay, and tell us which prize you want, so we can start coordinating, and you let us know what tournament you want to play in and stuff, okay?
Okay. All right. Awesome. So let's do these 3 ones. Spin the wheel. No rugging. All right. I'm picking names out of a hat and telling y'all. True Man Dan, definitely a holder. True Man Dan is going to represent us, and I'm assuming the $55 tournament, unless he says he does not want the pressure. So I'm going to remove all True Man Dans. So now, True Man Dan, you can no longer win one. Sorry. I actually must have spelled your name wrong. So if it lands on your name again, I'm just going to respin True Man Dan. So let's see who wins our second one. Relentless, also a holder. You're going to get a $15 ticket for myself. I'm removing you from all instances. And we're going to run it again. If it actually drops on Zach again, True Man Dan, or if I misspelled, wait, it was Zach, True Man Dan, and Relentless. Yeah, if it's any of those 3, we're just going to respin because Zach's not going to play in his own raffle. Here we go, even though he got some questions right. Sorry, Zach.
It's all good.
Pips. Hey, I think we can all be happy with Pips. Pips as our last winner.
Dude, that's super fun. Pips is going to be playing.
Yes, let's go Pips. So we got Pips, True Man Dan, and Relentless. So Pips and Relentless, you're going to be getting $15 from me, and $50 each or lower, and $55 or less for True Man Dan. Unless True Man Dan defaults and doesn't want the pressure, then either Pips or Relentless can take that $55 tournament. But open a ticket, True Man Dan, especially you have to state your preference. I'm pretty sure you're going to want that $55 tournament. Thank you all so much for coming. We're going to be running these weekly for a while. So if you didn't win tonight, don't worry. You'll have a chance to win in the future. And we love y'all. Stay tuned for the huge ride. We're doing something special in NFT poker. I'm all over the NFT poker space, and I can tell you this is not happening. Like value like this is not happening anywhere except Crypto Outlaws. So mint now, invite your friends, and we'll let you know about next steps. All right. Good night, everybody.
Boom. Mic drop. See everyone later. Bye-bye.
All right.